Hey guys, it's Hannah and I'm here today with my October wrap-up. So my October wrap-up, I actually did pretty good. I feel like I'm starting to come out of my reading slump that 2020 has been all about. And yeah, let's get it on into the books that I read for this month. The first book that I read and finished in October was the Falling in Love Montage by Kiara Smith. This book takes place in Ireland and it is about two girls who it's over the summer and they decide that they want to have a summer fling. So the main character, Saoirse, has a really rough home life and she tends to go after the girls that aren't actually going to be interested in having a relationship with another girl. She said that she likes to be the one that they experiment with, but anything that involves feelings she isn't interested in because she is afraid of getting hurt after her last breakup. So she doesn't really get involved in relationships, and so Ruby, the other main protagonist, suggests that they just do a strictly summer fling and that they do all of these cheesy things that are the falling in love montage, and they reference a lot of pop culture in movies and music, and for example like going to a summer fair and things like that, and doing all these cutesy dates but not actually being in a relationship. And Saoirse has a really rough home life. Her dad is getting remarried to this younger suitor, and her mom has Alzheimer's and is in a home, and they are like, her parents are still together, but her dad is getting remarried as well. So she's struggling through that along with going to college or getting prepped to go to college and finishing out her senior year and trying to figure out what to do with her life. And it's all kind of, everything's coming at once, especially at that age. You feel like everything has to be figured out right now, and that's kind of how she is feeling and doesn't know what to do with her life, and Ruby is a good distraction for that. So overall, this was really cute. It was a bit more on the darker side because it does tie a lot in with a parent having Alzheimer's and just dealing with the grittier parts of life, but I enjoyed it overall and I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, since it was spooky season, I saw this randomly, and I am not a poetry person, but if you've watched some of my other vlogs, you guys will know that I just picked this one up and I fell in love with this and just kind of binged and bought everything else that this author has put out, and that is To Drink Coffee with a Ghost by Amanda Lovelace. Now I do have 2 of her books on my TBR for next month, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully they are just as good. But this was my first Amanda Lovelace that I have ever read before, and I really enjoyed it. One of the things that I really love about this is that there is a page for trigger warnings, because with poetry, they are very short books, and most people think very short books equal easy to read. Not the case, because you go through and deal with and you kind of drudge through the mud of really intense topics, even with such little writing in here. It's really a different type of art form, and it is really incredible to watch someone go through that and be able to convey such strong messages with such little words. I think it's very impressive, and I really enjoyed this one. It went through a lot of harder topics. There was a little bit of bright spots in the darker parts, and just from the very limited experience that I've had with poetry, most of the time you start off kind of going through the muck and then you get through the transformation stage and you come out brighter. That definitely follows this formula, and I really enjoyed it. There was a few darker poems that really spoke and connected with me, but a lot of the lighter ones of what you feel like when you've gone through a transformation, and I really, really enjoyed this. I highly recommend it if you are looking to get into modern poetry. I really recommend this one. And stay tuned for my other reviews on the other ones, because I'm very excited to get to all of them. But this was 5 out of 5 by far. I only wish that I would have tabbed my way through it, because there's so many good ones that I would have tabbed. I was like going through and taking pictures and all of that of all the ones that I loved, and there was so many. So I'm hoping to go through and tab my next batch of poetry books, but I really, really, really loved this one. So I would recommend this one for anybody who has a really close relationship with their siblings, more of a different dynamic besides just siblings. Also someone who has had a tumultuous relationship with their mother. It talks about that in here too. There is trigger warnings for child abuse, eating disorder, sexual assault, self-harm, violence, cheating, death, gore, blood, trauma, grief, and possibly more. But I really, really, really enjoy this, especially the parts that got me as I'm really close with my sister, and there's a lot of good quotes and things like that about not only being family, being best friends, and there is an age difference between my sister and I, so that really spoke to me too about kind of being like a mother figure as well. I really enjoyed this and I highly recommend it. Next up, I did get a different job at my job. I got a new position, which allows for a lot more alone time, which allows for a lot more audiobooks time for me. So I just kind of put this on in the background, that way that I've got something to listen to. It's not so like alone, and I'm able to concentrate on my work, and then I can dip in and out of fully paying attention to the audiobook. So I don't want to listen to audiobooks that I haven't read or that I need to pay full attention to, because my main focus is on work when I'm listening to these. So I tend to put on rereads for me, which has been really great that I can just have these on in the background and work my way through my work. So I did pick up these two. You guys know how I feel about talking about this on my channel. You guys know that I absolutely love this series, but unfortunately the author is trash. So I don't want to give any more FaceTime for this author, and everybody knows about it anyway. But so I'm not also, with all of that, I'm also not rating these ones anymore either. But I did enjoy listening to them. It was nostalgic for me. I probably will continue listening to them, but like I said, I'm not going to give a lot of FaceTime. So I did finish both of these in the month of October. Along with that, I also put on the All You Can Dream Buffet by Barbara O'Neill. This is another one of my favorite books. This is an adult book. This I know is not going to be everybody's cup of tea. It is a contemporary. This takes place actually in Oregon, and it takes place at one of our main characters, Lavender's 85th birthday, and she is inviting all of her foodie blogger friends to her birthday to celebrate, and she is trying to look for someone who can inherit her lavender farm. So this takes place from 3 different perspectives out of the 4 women. There is Lavender, who is 85, and she is trying to find an heir for her lavender farm because the 2 nephews that are planned to inherit it will just sell it off to her biggest competitor, and she doesn't want her farm and all of her hard work to be ruined. We also have Ruby. There's a lot of girls named Ruby in books apparently that I'm reading right now. There is Ruby, who is newly pregnant and separated from her significant other, and she also had cancer when she was younger, so she is dealing with different struggles with that, and she is a food blogger as well. They're all food bloggers. That's how they met, and she represents like the vegan organic movement in this book. We have Ginny from Kansas, who is middle-aged in a horrible marriage that is very unhappy, and she's kind of discovering life and decides to start living for herself and not caring after her blog became public and well known in her small town, and everybody kind of scoffed at it and made fun of her internet fame, and she realized the quality of people in her life and decides to start living for her instead of everybody else. And then lastly, the one that we get the least perspective on is a mother who's used to be in the ballet in Portland, but she lives across the country now, and she had her 2 daughters and her husband recently killed in a airplane crash, and so then it is just herself and her daughter trying to survive around all of the pitying glances and just trying to live their life. So they're trying to move on from the tragedies and heal. And it's really hard when everybody is in your town staring at you, constantly wondering where the rest of your family is. So they all come from very different walks of life. It's a beautiful story. I really like the chemistry. The characters are really well-rounded and lively, and yeah, it's just a really good story about found family, and I really, really enjoy it. So I definitely don't give this enough face time, and I thought if I was gonna be doing rereads while I was working, that I would definitely pick this one up. So I highly enjoyed it. Obviously it's 5 stars. And last but not least, our Shelf Indulgence book club picked The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, and this was our pick for October. Go to Gabby's channel to check out our live show for that. We had a good live show. I ended up rating this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. This one was very unique. I know everybody's talking about this on BookTube right now, but quick glimpses of this is that there is a girl named Addie LaRue who is very unhappy, and she decides to make a deal with the devil and sells her soul basically to have freedom, and that comes at a price. So everybody that she meets after making that deal doesn't remember her. She can't say her name, she can't create art, she can't leave a lasting impression on this world, but she can live forever until she sacrifices and gives up basically to the devil that she made the deal with. And it's really, really different than anything that I've ever read. I love the writing style in here. The characters are really well fleshed out. The timelines are very interesting in this too. How she survives, it is very interesting. If you've watched some of my recent reading vlogs, I get real deep about how mind-boggling this situation is and how you would handle it. But I really enjoyed this, and definitely will be one that I will be recommending to people. So that is all of the books that I read in October. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what your favorite read of October was, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.